I've been following the idea that we should have a stable coin, which is the way you can interact with crypto. Right now, it's been a couple companies that some people think are sketchy. But PayPal is launching. And now their PayPal had just an okay quarter. But to have their stable coin backed up by treasuries and currency and actual dollars is very big. And I say this because I've had the former head of the CFTC on twice saying that they've got to fix this. And if they do it, the stable coin, it is terrific. And Tim Massin's the fellow who I like. And this is really the possibility of very positive for
JP Morgan is not going to
doing a stable coin.
Right.
Since I've actually asked them, they kind of just said, are you kidding me? But this is very important. And I think that PayPal is the outfit you'd like to switch to. I mean, I would, if I were doing crypto right now, I'd switch to PayPal. I'd put my money with them. There you go. That's what I do.
I think you're probably right that August 13th will come and go, and I think the SEC, if it's going to approve a Bitcoin ETF, will approve more than one at once. So then, again, because most of these essentially will be the same, and it will come down to marketing, communicating the message. You know, we've been putting out our Bitcoin monthly for the last year. We are now starting a Bitcoin brainstorming session. Our first one we launched last Thursday. So we're trying to get the word out there that our research is deep. And we've been doing it since 2015 when we gained our first exposure to GBTC. We were the first public asset manager to gain exposure to Bitcoin at all in 2015.
That's exactly where I want to go. The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, known by its ticker GBTC. If you look at ARK-W, for example, your ARK Next Generation Internet ETF, right now I see GBTC as the third largest holding. If we are in a situation where the SEC does give its blessing for a spot Bitcoin ETF, would you plan to sell out of GBTC and buy one of these physically backed funds?
I cannot talk about what we would and would not do. And in fact, our compliance team is, giving us marching orders not to talk very much about this filing and its aftermath at all. So just the fact that we filed with our partner 21 shares is as far as I can go.
I think they're likely to punt it down the road, Bob. You know, if you look at the history of spot Bitcoin ETF applications, the SEC has taken the full 240 days that it has to review these applications. They're complex applications. They want to take their time and do their homework. This August 13th deadline is just a check-in. The SEC can push it out to 240 days, which ends in early January. That's what I expect.
So the drop-dead date is early January, then, if they try to push it out here. Okay, the crypto community has been very excited about this because this current crop of applicants has a surveillance sharing agreement with exchanges like NASDAQ and CBOE. And my understanding is this would allow for the sharing of information about market trading activity and clearing activity, customer identification, and it would reduce the chances for market manipulation. And it would also seek to ensure that investor assets can't be diverted by the exchange to an unauthorized party. So is this sufficient to address the SEC's concerns about fraud and manipulation? Will this get it over the finish line?
You know, I don't think there's any silver bullet on a spot Bitcoin ETF. People are looking for one thing that will get it over the finish line. I think the SEC is looking at the totality of circumstances. So these surveillance sharing agreements are an important new addition, but it's also important that we've had Bitcoin futures ETFs trading well in the market for 2 years. It's important that the CME market is bigger and more established. It's important that we have better regulations, better understanding of custody. It's going to take not one silver bullet, but a fusillade of accurately placed shots. The good news, Bob, is I think these are the best applications we've seen over the last decade that we've been trying to get a spot Bitcoin ETF. So I am optimistic.
Yeah, speaking of optimism, there's an awful lot of optimism out there in the crypto community. They're just ecstatic. They say the SEC has approved a 2 times leveraged Bitcoin ETF. That happened recently. That's a sign they're softening up, they say. But the biggest comment I hear is this lawsuit that Grayscale has brought against the SEC. Grayscale wants to convert the Grayscale Trust to a Bitcoin ETF. The SEC has denied them. And in some of the hearings, the judge seems to have been very hostile to why the SEC has approved Bitcoin futures and not a spot ETF. So we're expecting a ruling sometime in the fall. I just spoke with Michael Sonnenschein from Grayscale. He tells me we could get a ruling any day now. Could that, if it moved the dial, if it went in Grayscale's favor?
Absolutely. That is another thing that can move to the dial and adds to this general collection of facts that is pointing us in the direction of a spot Bitcoin ETF. You know, it is important to note, this is the SEC that approved a futures ETF, as you said, approved a 2x futures ETF, is now thinking about ETH futures ETFs. So it's not an SEC that says no. It's an SEC that takes its time. The court case could accelerate that. We saw that in Canada when they approved spot Bitcoin ETFs. There was a big legal win that pushed those over the line. So this is a big help. We're getting closer than we've ever been, Bob.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hey guys, so make sure y'all donate to the channel and hit the cash out for this great content. Thanks for supporting.
And guys, how fast things have changed. We have Jim Cramer in favor of stablecoins. And we know, guys, stablecoins are nothing but digital dollars. But these stablecoins are programmable, telling you what, where, and when and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And guys, we still have the mainstream media pushing the idea of a Bitcoin ETF. We know globally we already have them. And right now, Grayscale has a lawsuit with the SEC, but we had BlackRock, some big banks and big funds come in and still put in a spot Bitcoin ETF. So guys, we know this is definitely a part of the plan, a part of the movie. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you.
You don't look like you feel good today.
Dr. Trishella Johnson-Foy starts patient visits by pulling out her phone.
It listens in on our visits so that I can pay more attention to you. Are you comfortable with me using it?
Using Nuance's DAX app has freed Foy from typing when she's seeing patients. The AI program writes her patient summaries for her, which has freed her from
pajama time, which should be the time where you're getting ready to wind down and go to bed. We're usually still charting and noting and doing things that are going to enhance the life of the patient, but not necessarily our own quality of life.
At Baptist Health in Jacksonville, harnessing generative AI programs to help doctors and nurses fight burnout is a top priority.
There's new economies of scale and economies that healthcare will be able to get into leveraging AI because you simply because you eliminate all the administrative redundancy and bureaucracy overhead and you allow folks to work top of license.
Using AI to reduce administrative tasks could help hospitals cut total costs by 5 to 11% in the next 5 years, according to a National Bureau of Economic Research study. For physician groups, up to 8%, and for health insurers, 7 to 10%, though the upfront investment isn't cheap.
It cost me X, but I just made my patients a whole lot happier and my physicians a whole lot more productive. Well, there's an answer right there by itself.
But about that productivity, Dr. Foy says it shouldn't mean more work. Pajama time is now reserved for time with her family.
This is about the doctor having a quality of life that they deserve, because we're people too.
Both sides have some share of blame here in terms of our unsustainable debt trajectory and the rapid deterioration of the fiscal health of our country. But I do think the last 2 years and $11 trillion in record spending and the spending-induced inflation and the interest rate hikes and an economy that's projected not only by CBO but by Fitch and even the White House's own economist is heading for recession. So we're in trouble, but these are things that I think investors were watching for years now, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody, sadly enough, because there are some structural problems in our balance sheet, namely mandatory spending, and we have an aging population, the world's largest generational retirement, and we have to rein that mandatory spending in, and we've got to grow the economy faster than we're spending, and that's not happening. And the policies in place today, Andrew, are not going to get us there, which is why all of these negative projections of under 1% GDP this year, Fitch says it's going to be not even 0.5% in 24. We've got to return to pro-growth, pro-energy, and pro-growth policies that will get us back on track.
You look at the Social Security funds and you can do the math. You can do the math with everybody, but nobody historically has really wanted to go there.
Well, we're going to go there. We're going to reveal our 10-year fiscal framework called a budget resolution. Probably most of your viewers haven't heard of that because for the last 4 years, my colleagues, Democrat colleagues, never put forward a budget framework. But we're going to include entitlement spending so that we put our country on a path to balance in 10 years. Part of that is growth. Part of that equation will be right-sizing the bureaucracy. That's the discretionary spending and all the activity around the appropriations process and the debt ceiling agreement. But we will take on welfare and healthcare and other entitlement programs to make them more cost effective, to root out the waste, to give states more autonomy and responsibility, among other things. But yeah, you've got to do that or you don't get out of this mess. You get more downgrades and potentially a sovereign debt crisis. Now, with respect to Social Security and Medicare, those are very difficult politically. They're used on both sides as a weapon. And so we've made it so that nobody wants to address the shortfall, that those programs will be insolvent within the next 10 years. So you got to provide some mechanism for serious lawmakers on both sides to come up with a consensus like Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill did to address the insolvency, to strengthen the program and to give assurances not only to seniors, but future seniors. At this point, even current seniors, if nothing is done to Social Security, will take a 20% haircut. That's unacceptable. We need to be responsible leaders, and both sides have to.
So, but what does that look like, Chair Arrington? What does that look like for you? I mean, in terms of the position that you would take on Social Security, would you push out the age at which it begins? Not necessarily tomorrow, but push it out for folks, 20 years from now, so they could begin to prepare, thinking that, folks are living a lot longer than when this original effectively insurance plan was put into place. Would you means test? What kinds of things would you do?
Yeah, I think here's the problem. As soon as you start picking those out without having Republicans and Democrats in the room, so to speak, saying, let's put the pay-fors and the programmatic reforms, some of which you just mentioned, all on the table. We know that you're going to have both present and both probably in the final analysis because Democrats want the revenue side and focus on that, and Republicans focus on the programmatic reforms, some of which you mentioned. All have to be on the table, and it has got to be one where we hold hands and jump together in order to save Social Security and Medicare and taxpayers a lot of money because the longer we wait, the more expensive it's getting.
And guys, we know the robots, algorithms, and drones are about to take over. Now AI is going to replace the secretaries inside your doctor's offices. And you heard it for yourself. We know that doctors don't do any paperwork, guys. We know they get the secretary to do it, or even the lower nurses. But the paperwork pusher has definitely been replaced. And now, guys, we have the politicians constantly talking about the debt. And we know why. The dollar is about to lose its power because we have so many countries getting off the dollar. And Social Security is being bought back up. But, guys, we know the NWO caused the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. We know universal basic income is being tested globally, and it's going to replace all the entitlement programs. So instead of you getting direct deposit, instead of you getting a check, it's going to be airdropped into the government wallet. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.